Coming to you from Studio K, presented by Circle K. It's the PHNX Rising podcast this Thursday evening. Make sure to join the Inner Circle program now. Go head over, download the Circle K app today. You can check out circlek.com for details. I'm Owen Evans. I've got someone different sitting next to me. Look who's making his full pod debut.
Yeah, no Max Simpson.
It's Rees.
Come on.
The stat lackey, the hot dog helper, the glizzy guzzler himself.
We don't need all those nicknames.
Well, we're going to stick with all those nicknames, Rees.
My mom's watching this. I mean, you can't be saying that.
Rees, does your mum know what you're doing next week?
I think she does.
You think she does? Okay. Well, there we go. Well, Rees, how's it feel? You haven't sat over this side before.
Well, it feels good to not be listening to Max. You know,
that's
singing,
a good point.
So we're off to a good start.
There we go. We managed to avoid Max's singing. Okay. We'll take that. But you've been promoting now. You're not quite just stat lucky anymore.
I know. What's the title now, though? There's got to be a name.
I don't know. We haven't thought that one through. If you've got any ideas for new nicknames for Rees, chuck them in the chat. Shout out to everyone in the chat, by the way, as well. We got a lot to talk about today, haven't we, Rees? Because there is a big Phoenix Rising game coming up this weekend. The team at the moment, they're 4 unbeaten at the moment, Phoenix Rising. They've won 2 on the bounce. They're trying to resurrect the playoff hopes after a pretty rough start to the season. And now it's Sacramento Republic on the road. So it's not going to be an easy one, but let's just start by talking a little about Phoenix Rising and kind of what we're looking at here in terms of from Rising's perspective. Of course, Tomás Ángel getting off the mark last week with a penalty. Maybe not the way you'd have hoped to have seen him get off the mark, but he still gets off the mark. He still gets that off of his back and still gets his first goal for this club. As we're looking now at Sacramento Republic, how are we feeling about him? How are we feeling about Tomás?
I think that it's just getting that first goal. He needed it. We all saw his struggles getting towards it. And I think, giving him the penalty, the boost he needed, I hope it can be the start of good form. It's what Rising are going to need for this stretch. It's a tough stretch with Orange County, San Antonio, and of course Sacramento this weekend, but I think hopefully it can lead to good form.
Indeed. He's joined now alongside, obviously, Joel Margarita, making his way back from international duty. Darius Johnson will be back as well, but we'll have to wait and see if he gets the nod to start yet or not. They're still working him up, of course. Played half hour for Grenada and then 45 minutes for Grenada on international duty and was being eased up in that direction anyway by Rising. But if you look at just now, if you've got Joel coming in, probably feeling pretty good about himself, right? He had 2 assists in the game against San Martin for Curacao. You've also got Tomás Ángel, who's now gotten off the mark. Just as a pairing, what do we think about that pairing overall?
I think it's going to be something where Margarita, when he's on the right side, that's where he's played the best for me over, 2 matches now he's played in a Rising shirt?
Yeah.
When he's played on the left, I don't think he's been as good. But when he's going to probably play on the right, he's going to cut in more. I think that's going to lead to more opportunities for Tomás Ángel to make some runs, try to get behind Sacramento's defense. They're one of the best defenses in the league. So hopefully that duo can come together and get some goals for Rising.
Yeah, especially looking at how you take on a defense like that. One other notable one there, Remy Cabral coming back in. Obviously got a few minutes under his belt last week. He's been out injured for a little while, but just how much he can bring as an alternative option as well, right? He is still, at this point, Phoenix Rising's top goal scorer. That tells you about the kind of season that Rising have had and where the struggles for goals have been coming from, right? They're not finding ways to put the ball in the back of the net, so that Remy Cabral, who's missed weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks right now, is still that team's top scorer. Having him available and just seeing... I'm intrigued because I think we've spoken a bit about this before in terms of where you go now that you have Remy Cabral back. Do you look at maybe playing the two of them out there at the same time, both Remy and Tomás? Do you look at, just treating it as though one of them is the backup for the other? What do you think about just two there, playing two up top?
For me, I think you stick to the one. You stick to the two wingers. I don't think playing 4 up top, 2 wingers and 2 strikers, I think that would be just too attacking centric. Personally, I think Remy, he scored in the Sacramento home game, even though he's about few yards offside in that one. So I personally, for me, I'd like to see Tomás Ángel still get the starting get more minutes for Remy Cabral, but still Ángel is a starting 9 for me.
But here's the thing. If we're talking about, I understand where you're coming from in terms of balance, in terms of not wanting to have too much of an attacking focus almost within the team, especially given we know that they've been pretty well balanced in terms of the defense is looking all right. But this team can't score goals, right? They've scored 2 goals now in their last 6 games. Yeah. As you're looking at that, do you not have to find new ways to try and get the ball into the back of the net, try and find new ways to challenge defenses? Because again, even when Rising have found ways to dominate games, even when they've found ways to really take control and really make it look as though they are the ones in the driver's seat, the opponent aren't going to do very much whatsoever, they still just can't seem to get over that hump of scoring. Definitely not scoring multiple goals, but in a lot of these games, even scoring in the first place.
Yeah. Well, the attack has been fluid in terms of who's been playing over the last few matches. You saw Formella get minutes. Margarita, he obviously missed the last one, along with Darius Johnson. So if Rising can build some sustained, just keep getting the same guys back in the lineup, then I think we'll see more chances for Rising. But that's just something we haven't seen over the last 6 matches, really.
Indeed. Well, we're speaking about Remy Cabral, of course, coming back from injury. We do have some more availability updates from earlier this week from Rising interim coach Diego Gomez.
Remy still is good. He's getting back in, and Fede is a doubt, and John is still not available.
Is there any rough idea on how much longer we should expect on John?
It's a situation where what I can say is not a short term, so we still have some weeks to wait on John, and it's going to depend on how he's progressing. So we'll get back when we have a clear idea. It's not going to be a shorter thing right now, but we don't have a definite date.
There we go. There's obviously, it's been a rough season at times for injuries with Rising, right? Obviously, Remy Cabral missed a lot of time. He's now back in. As you look at other players in there, Fede Varela expected to be a doubt. He's doubtful for this weekend. He's been dealing with some issues. I believe in a previous week, Diego told us he'd had some issues with some fluid in his calf and trying to work through that. I'll kind of counter that with saying that if everything's going well at Rising, is Fede necessarily starting? Probably not. But the big one there, of course, John Stenberg. We've been waiting now for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I might say it one more time, and weeks to really see John Stenberg take that step back towards getting in. Now, we know that he struggled, obviously, since contracting valley fever at the end of last season. The way that he managed to play 90 minutes in the final and score the equalizer at the end of that 90 minutes. Yeah. We still don't really know, but he's never really shaken off, I think, all of the problems that have come since. Okay? Obviously had a spell in hospital over the off-season when he went back home. He's kind of been on and off. He's had some kind of short stretches where he's been able to play during the course of this season, but it feels like it's more a season of injuries just punctuated by the odd bit of availability throughout. And there we go. We have that extra update there that it's not probably a short-term issue. We've been waiting for that for a while. It's always been that kind of, is it just around the corner? Could it be another week or two? Maybe he's always there. And obviously the club don't really want to give that much away, but now we're hearing more of it, and especially at this time, to be honest, I'd almost be surprised if we do see him get any substantial minutes probably before the end of the regular season.
I don't think he will either. It's just been this. I want to look up right now what the last match he played in was, because
it was a while ago.
But
It's been a long while for John Stenberg.
I mean, thankfully for Rising, Pop Marboy has stepped up. When Mayor's been good, Lawrence Weich's been good in that defense. So you're not. I don't want to say you're not missing him. You obviously want your captain out there, but Rising have done well to fill the holes that Stenberg's left.
They have. Speaking of filling the holes, by the way, can we shout out, look who's in the chat. Max Simpson, who I think we need to hold him to his most recent comment there, as he says that you have a chance to replace Max if you can survive the hot dogs. Obviously, we'll talk about that later. You have a chance to...
I'm surviving the hot dogs, Max.
He's surviving the hot dogs. Also, Max, we don't have Kyle behind the Mac today. We actually got... say hi to Shane.
I'm not Kyle.
Yeah, it's not Kyle. Not Kyle.
Kyle's producing the ASU postgame show tonight.
Yeah. Don't sound
Sorry,
too
Max.
enthusiastic there, Shane.
I'm dead talking to Max.
I mean,
If I was
yeah,
talking to you, I'd be talking like this.
Yeah, there we go. See, when it's Max, it's okay. Okay, that
This
makes
isn't
sense.
Kyle Max.
Yeah, I know. That's disappointing. That's disappointing, isn't it? Max just doesn't...
Yeah, he doesn't believe in me surviving the hot
No,
dogs.
I know.
He doesn't know Shane's behind the Mac. It's just shameful from Max.
It's a shambles. It's a shambles. But shout out to the rest of you in the chat as well. Of course, Andrew, Sayali, Devin, all of you guys. Make sure to keep throwing in your opinions in there, especially if they're going to be putting us on the spot, because we love that in particular. Right, Rees, as we're looking now towards this game, defensively, probably not going to make any changes, are you, in this game?
No, you stick with that lineup you've been putting out. Pop Marboy, we saw it. I think you saw Rising tweet out how they believe he got snubbed from the team of the week. I can't say I agree, but I do think his performance on against Tulsa was excellent. So you still have him. Weich's been great. Juan Mayor's been not great, but he's kind of flown under the radar for me. So I wouldn't make any adjustments whatsoever.
No, I mean, you're right. Pop Marboy has just been probably the positive story of the season from Phoenix Rising's perspective, right? This is a guy who could have gone to MLS. He was expected to be drafted high up, could have gone Generation Adidas, didn't end up taking that opportunity, ended up going to USL to play for Phoenix Rising instead. And obviously, I mean, he spoke earlier this week as well, and we heard a little bit about just the impact that having Mo Traore around here was, and the impact that Mo Traore had in terms of bringing him here to this team. And even that Pap had actually come here to Phoenix in the past and watched games here in Phoenix before he'd signed for the team. So, again, this is a guy who was familiar with this team from all of that beforehand. And look, I think that him and his opportunity probably to move on, maybe not at the end of this season, but give it another year maybe, and he can move to Europe as the ASU people outside get really, really energetic. I think that he's got a real chance to progress, to move on to playing Europe in a year or so. And if he can do so, and if he can bring in the transfer fee and really make it worthwhile for Phoenix, and not only that, but really put Phoenix again on the map, I think, as a team that is able to transition players on to bigger and better things. Now, they've done it a couple of times with MLS. Can they do it in terms of shipping someone off to Europe?
That's something that teams like Louisville have done well in the top
Orange
teams
County.
Orange County. And Orange County have done it with the younger players. Louisville, Winder, and Jameson from Orange County. He's going to move on to better things after this season, likely. So I think when Rising signed Pop Marboy, we really didn't know what the expectation was going to be. We expected... we saw, this is interesting because Tom Bogert reported it. And then it's like, he's reporting on Rising News. This is exciting. But he's rubbed well past my expectations this season. I'm excited to see what his career becomes to. But I've been really impressed by him.
Indeed. Now, as you look, though, at the other parts of this, we've spoken about the attack. We've spoken about the defense now. But something that's been really interesting, I think, is the way that the midfield's come on in these last few games, just in terms of, I think, seeing a more progressive midfield, a midfield that's willing to play forward balls and that's willing to look for those. Whereas in the past, I mean, even when we're talking about specific players, right? We spoke about it, I think, quite a bit after Loudon in terms of just seeing Jose Andres Hernandez come off the bench and he's like, hang on a minute, he's playing forward balls.
Yeah.
He doesn't play forward balls. He plays a lot of sideways balls. He plays a lot of backwards balls. He doesn't play forward balls. And in this case, he was. And you see the result of that. He plays one forward to Joel Margarita. That ends up being the goal. But I think we've seen that more broadly, right? You see more energy in there. I mean, obviously, Charlie Dennis is someone who, if you've got him playing the ball forward and got him, he likes to find those spaces between lines. He likes to progress the ball. Maybe he's starting a little bit too deep relative to what you'd want. But again, there's a lot going on there. It's maybe that's the way that you do want to see things. I think that Renzo Zambrano has stepped up quite well in the last few weeks as well, in terms of how he's looking. I think the midfield has genuinely looked better.
I agree. And I think Emil Cueja, too. I mean, you can technically call him a left back, the way he's been playing, but it's also in midfield in possession. But I think this last match against Tulsa, his runs forward combining with Formella were key as well to kickstart some of these attacks for Rising.
All right. Who's going to be the key player this week? Give me one.
I feel like it's got to be Tomás Ángel. If you're going to take 3 points, he's got to get a goal.
He does. Yeah. Now, that was going to be my option. I'm going to go with a different one then. I'm going to say, coming off of international duty, Joel Margarita, what can he do in this game? Okay? We saw that he got assists in his most recent game with Curaçao. In his last game with Rising, he picked up a goal. If he can find ways to create chances, either for himself or for others, maybe there's an opportunity there for Rising to come away with something. The key thing here is that Rising defensively are going to have to hold pretty solid and hope that the attack can find a goal. It may not be more than a goal, but they're going to have to at some point find a goal, because I'm not sure that you go up there and come away with a 0-0 draw.
But I trust the defense in this for Rising. I think Potmore Boy, I've mentioned this before, but I'm not that impressed by how Sacramento's attack's been looking recently. And I think that mix of Rising's coming in on great defensive form, Sacramento been on the attack. I think if it comes to a 0-0 match late in the game, I think Rising would be the ones to get the goal.
You think they will?
I don't think they will. I think they could.
Okay.
Very different words.
Very different wording indeed there, Rees. But I don't know. Just even before we look at Sacramento, just give me now on a scale of 1 to 10 confidence right now.
I'm way too high. I'm like a 7. Way too high.
7?
Yeah. I mean, it makes no
7?
sense. I watch England and Arsenal play. I'm watching this team play. I should not be a 7. I'm gonna get my heart broken, but I'm a 7 for some reason.
Well, you know what's not gonna break your heart?
What?
If you go off and find yourself a new hat from our friends at Branded Builds, you can get 20% off of your first order. Use that code PHNX. It's there at the bottom of the screen. They got all kinds of different kinds of hats there. All kind of stuff, whatever you want. They've got the ASU collection. They got the U of A collection, but I don't know if anyone really wants that stuff. You don't want that. I don't want that. I don't think Shane behind the Mac wants that. But if you do happen to want that, it's there as well. And they've got all kinds of custom stuff you can get done as well. All different types of hats, snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies. They got tees as well. They've got all of that stuff. And of course, they're based here in the Valley as well. So a bit of local business as well, supporting, which is always a good thing. So yeah, make sure to go on, head over to brandedbills.com. You're going to use that code that's there at the bottom of the screen, PHNX. I'm not sure if you can remember that one. Can you remember that one, Rees?
It's going to be tough.
A little bit beyond him, but you can go back and check it if you need to. PHNX to save 20% off of your first order. And of course, if you want to save some money elsewise, you can also sign up for the Inner Circle program. We've been speaking about this for a while. We're here in Studio K as well. I'm not going to do the catching food in my mouth thing, unfortunately.
Thank God.
Yeah, we're not doing the max on that one. But of course, go sign up for the Inner Circle program. Download the Circle K app today. You save 25 cents per gallon on those first 5 Phillips, 3 cents per gallon every day thereafter, and get all kinds of other special deals as well, including 79 cents any size Polar Pop that they've been going on with for a little while now. If you need to cool off, it's still pretty hot out there. So go get yourself a Polar Pop. That stuff stays cold, okay? always good selection of drinks over there at Circle K and all the other kind of snacks as well. So make sure to go and join the Inner Circle program for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Of course, terms and conditions do apply at participating locations, and visit circlek.com for details. Right, Rees, we need to get talking a little bit here on Sacramento Republic. Should we start with just some head-to-head stuff? Have a look at this now. So as we look at Sacramento, obviously second in the Western Conference table. Their last match, they lost 3-1 to Charleston in that game. Their last five's been a little bit shaky there. Loss, win, loss. Their home record's not great either. 4 losses in their 13 home games this year. Not what you'd expect for a team that's in the top 2. You compare that with Phoenix Rising there, though. Rising are riding that 4-game unbeaten streak at the moment, and that's pretty big.
Yeah, it is. I mean, going on the road to Sacramento, you talked about they've lost 4 of their 13 home games. Their home record is 8th in the West. They've only picked up 19 points from their 13 home matches. They average around a goal a game at home compared to about 1.67 goals away from home. So for some reason, their home form just isn't clicking. Rising unbeaten, maybe they do go in, get a point. If they can get 3, that'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. Well, the interesting thing as well there, you look at the top scorers, Trevor Aman, okay, for Sacramento. For Phoenix, it's Remy Cabral. Both of those are players that haven't really been starting lately.
Yeah, Sacramento, they brought in Kieran Phillips from Huddersfield Town in England. He's been on loan from them, and he's been, I think it's 7 goals he's scored in like 18 appearances. So coming in, he's been the number 9. I think his second or third game was in the reverse fixture on May 4th. So interesting to see that switch, because Aman was lethal when he was at Northern Colorado Hailstorm. It's like 26 goals in 34 matches. So very interesting for me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, though, with Kieran Phillips. Of course, you mentioned, he's on loan from Huddersfield Town. He's a younger player there, 24. Now, that's one of those moves that comes about because, of course, you have the shared ownership between those two teams. So that kind of stuff really helps to facilitate moves like that. But yeah, it's 7 goals in 19 games in USL Championship for Kieran Phillips so far this season. That's helped him to displace Trevor Aman as the starter, at least in recent games, definitely. And quite how Mark Briggs' side is going to line up. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, but one of the key things there that's an interesting one is the absence of one player. Of course, Roro Lopez, who has been a critical part of that Sacramento Republic team for so long, going way back to the very first days of Sacramento Republic, with a couple of absences in the middle as well. Mm-hmm. He's been huge for them, but he's out.
Yeah, he tore his ACL in July. He's missed the last 15 matches. With him, they averaged 1.5 goals per match. Since then, it's a little bit of a drop to 1.2. So a bit of their attacking struggles have come without him. He scored that free kick goal against Rising in May. Great ball that was. Just nothing Rocco could have done to save that one, but Sacramento have to find a way without him.
Indeed. Roro, again, he's just been there, I think, in so many moments that have frustrated Rising. One that really comes to mind, of course, the last time that Rising hosted a home playoff game, 2021, when they were playing RGV. And at that point, Roro, he was with RGV, and he's the one who, people were kind of talking at the point, was he a little bit washed? Was he on the tail end of his career? I know that came up in the commentary on the match broadcast for that game. And what does he do? He scores a great goal in that one, and ultimately RGV go on to frustrate Phoenix by progressing from kicks from the mark in that game. So he's going to be an interesting absence. I will say we can have a little listen actually to Diego Gomez and some of the other things that he had to say about Sacramento earlier this week.
Yeah, they're a very good team. They have very good players. They have a lot of intensity playing. They press hard. They have very good also center backs on the ball. Is Felipe also controlling the midfield, has a really good job. And then you have Cicerone, Cristian Parano, Roro that is injured right now, but still a great player. Amam, Phillips, Herrera. You have a lot of power on top and with really good players. So it's always difficult challenge. They put the things difficult to every team because they have threats in so many different ways. Also, Core on the sides, always a very dangerous player. They have the threat inside with the 10s. They have also the threat to the space with Phillips and like a more pure striker. If a man comes from the bench, also a player that makes difference and score goals. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces that they have in there that can really just irritate you. I think if you're a team that's going there needing a result, who else would you pick out at this point?
Jack Gurr or Russell Cicerone for me.
They're just names that have been around in this league for so long, right? You just know that they're going to. They're just going to frustrate you at some point. Those are names that you start dropping them and you think, even thinking back a couple of years ago, they're names that were around that were kind of always had to be on your radar.
Yeah, Russell Cicerone, I mean, he nearly eliminated Rising from the playoffs last year, scored that opening goal, but it's he's, let's see, I don't know what his form is. Only the 4 goals this year. So not great compared to his previous standards, but still, you can't count him out.
Well, right. This is a guy who last season had 17 goals. Yeah. Okay? That's the kind of standard. Even if he's had a drop-off this year, you know what kind of talent is there. You know what realistically he can do. And in any given one-off game, maybe they turn it around, right? I mean, you look at Rising as a whole. Rising haven't been playing particularly well all season long, and you're starting to see in these last few games the amount that they can go to. Now, one thing is, I'll tell you what, I'll pick this one up from Kevin actually here. Rising play to the level of their competition. That's actually a really good point from Kevin in there. I think we've seen it a few times this season. As you look then at Sacramento, how do we feel, right? Because obviously they're a much better team. Do we feel Rising can compete with them player for player?
I don't know if they can compete going forward. That's where I think Rising's going to have to really take it up a notch to something we haven't seen this season. I mean, but then again, we haven't seen Darius Johnson, Tomás Ángel, and Joel Margarita lead that front three for an extended period. So I don't know. I think Rising has the defense to match Sacramento's defense, but I don't know if they have the attack to match.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, as we look then, if Rising's attack are going to do well, they're going to have to find a way to get past Danny Vitiello. Now, he's a player who's often touted quite highly. Kevin's actually reading my mind here as he hops in with sack keepers overrated. But here's the question: is he overrated?
Probably should have saved that Cuejo shot, but I don't know.
But he's always going to be a player who ends up in those mentions at the end of the season. How much of that, though, is his defense? How much of that is him? Because that's always a big part. When you see those stats, right? Yeah, he's got 11 clean sheets in 22 appearances. So every other game, he's keeping a clean sheet. But how much of that comes down to his defense? How much of that is actually him, right? He's made 57 saves so far this season. It's an interesting one to me. And again, he's a player, if he has a good game in any given game, he can play really, really well. But I don't know. I mean, okay, let's give it a perfect comparison here, actually. Rocco Rios Novo, 11 clean sheets, the same as Danny Vitiello. But Danny Vitiello has had to make 57 saves for those 11 clean sheets. Rocco Rios Novo has had to make 81. Second most saves in the league. I think that kind of tells the story here, right? It's much easier to be a better keeper in terms of those final output stats when you're on a team that is playing well, that defends well. Okay, it's what it is, right? You're more likely to just not even face the more dangerous shots. You're getting called on to do it 2 or 3 times a game rather than doing it 5 or 6 times a game. That's a big part of it. So I understand why a lot of people think that Vitiello's overrated, but we'll see on that one. Besides that, though, just as we're looking now, obviously at people often call it Briggs ball. There's the little smirk. There's the little smirk from Rees because we know what we're going to see. And is it always the easiest on the eye?
Boring Briggs.
Boring Briggs ball, right? But it's effective.
It is. I mean, they wouldn't be so good if it wasn't effective. But
and there are other teams in this league who do similarly and have gotten some decent results as a result of that.
Yeah, it's just not fun to watch at all, though. That's the thing. You know,
it's not. But But Mark Briggs you can really make the case that he's probably one of the better coaches in this league.
He probably is, yeah. I mean,
and he's definitely got his proteges that have gone off to other clubs, right? You got Danny Dicchio, of course. He was an assistant under Mark Briggs. He's up with Detroit. They started the season really well. Yes, they fell off, but that happens. It's Detroit City. They don't have the most resources, right? He's got a relatively decent run, I think, out of that team for what he's able to put in there.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit, I think no one really expected that from them. It was, 7 matches unbeaten, something like that. So, bit of an overachievement, but they're also a team that you don't want to face in the playoffs. You know that their style is that's a style prone for forcing upsets against higher seeded teams.
It is. But here's the interesting one, I think. And it's a question of whether perhaps lessons have been learned from last season, right? In that, we always kind of have the chat about, is he a little bit too negative? It felt as though in that playoff game, obviously Rising played them in the playoff game last season. Rising 1-0 down, get 2 late goals, including the stoppage time winner. But it felt as though Sacramento kind of started to take the foot off the gas a little bit. Of course, Russell Cicerone comes out, right? There are other changes they make there in terms of Luis Felipe coming out, and he brought Roro on. I mean, maybe they're a little bit more defensive-minded at times when they make some of the changes going on, and I think that was definitely the feeling among Sacramento fans. Do you see a case where maybe they park the bus a little bit if they go one up?
Absolutely. And that's where Rising won't be able to make a comeback into this match. If they go down 1-0 in the first half, I think Sacramento, it likely finishes 1-0, if not 2-0 Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's one of those things, again, where Rising are used to in these last few games, I think, dominating possession, controlling the match, controlling the tempo. And if Sacramento allow them to do so, the issue you've got there is that Sacramento are a good team defensively, and Rising have struggled, even against weaker teams, to really turn anything of that domination, anything from that control, into serious chances at the end of it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one. But Rees, all right, it is time. Score prediction.
Oh, I don't want to be that guy, but 0-0.
You going 0-0? I'm not sure
0-0.
I'm going to go 0-0 because I think Rising loses 1-0 in this game.
I can see that. That would be my backup choice, but I'm going 0-0.
You're going with 0-0. Okay, chat, feel free to toss your predictions in there. We got a 1-0 sack in there. Matching me on that one. I think Kieran Phillips gets the goal for Sacramento to me. We got a 0-0 in there. I'll tell you what, we'll go behind the Mac for this one as well, which is a shame. How are we feeling?
About?
Score prediction.
Yeah, let's go 0-0.
He's going 0-0. He's going 0-0.
It hasn't been fun. I mean, it's been a little more fun to watch, but the season has not been very fun to watch.
It's been one of those eke results out kind of stretches now of a month, maybe. So yeah, I think a 0-0 will drop. Devin going with a 1-0 Rising. Wow, we got a bit of positivity here in the chat.
Delusion.
A little bit. 3-1 Rising.
Oh,
says that's your dad, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. All right.
Having a good evening, then.
He's feeling good. He's feeling positive. I don't see him scoring 3 goals up there. Remy and Pat, my boy, to score, says Andrew in the chat, with a 2-1 win for Phoenix. Okay, 0-0, says the general. We got Sally with 1-0. Tomás will score. Okay.
A lot of positivity on that.
There is a lot of positivity. I don't know quite how I feel about the positivity.
I don't know. It's
because
it's worrying.
Then we get the response there that your dad's been on the margaritas. Well, maybe he has been. You know, I'm not sure about the positivity overall, but there is one thing I am positive about. And that is the fact that when we went to our friends at Valley Tap Room, he's already hiding his head right now because he knows exactly what's coming up. We were very positive that day when we saw Spain save football. We had a great time. It was made better by the 30 beers on tap. They have the fridge full of other options as well, so you're not just tied to those 30. They have their bar menu there as well. It's always a great time at the Gilbert location, and of course, also at the new Queen Creek location. too. So make sure to go check out Valley Tap Room. I'm sure we'll be over there at some point. Maybe when Max gets back from, Mr. Vacations is off visiting wherever he's visiting this weekend. Maybe we're
not going to see him for like 3 months.
We're going to have to get him down to Valley Tap Room at some point. He's got to buy beers.
He's got to.
He has to. We'll go check him out on socials at Valley Tap Room. And yeah, make sure to join us whenever we end up down there, which will be some point probably. Yeah, it's always a good time down there. All right, so time to have a little look around the league, at some of what's going on. I tell you what, let's just kick off with the standings a bit to put things in context. Of course, there were a couple of games last night. Here's what they've done. They've actually not moved anyone around at all in terms of the ordering here, but New Mexico remains at the top of the Western Conference. They're 10 points clear of Sacramento in second place. The real battle is for those 2 through 4 spaces. It's Sacramento, Colorado Springs, Oakland, Memphis, Las Vegas. That one, just 2 points difference between there. Propping up the playoff positions, of course, Phoenix in 7 on 33 points. Tulsa, they got a draw last night, so they're on 31 points in 8th. And then just outside, that 9, 10, 11, Orange County, San Antonio, Monterey Bay, all on 28. They're all just 5 points behind Phoenix Rising. And the bit that makes it more interesting here is that all 3 of those teams will play Phoenix Rising before the season is out. So there's going to be massive 6-pointers. And of course, the very bottom of the league, it's El Paso, because El Paso Locomotive have really underwhelmed. Yeah, I still can't believe that at the start of this season, we were saying El Paso Locomotive was everyone's dark horse. Yeah. It was, wow, look at these guys. They've recruited well. They've got a good team. It's all going to come together. And they have just stunk up the West all season long.
I'm pretty sure I predicted them to host the home playoff game.
I know.
That's not going to happen.
They're not going to make the playoffs. See, like 10 points off.
They're not mathematically eliminated yet.
Yeah, unlike Miami FC, the Miami FC in the East, the first team to be eliminated. No, there's no Messi involved there, Rees. As much as some people may show up to Miami FC games wearing Messi jerseys because they seem to think that he is going to play in that one. But let's have a look as well, though, at some of the games to watch this weekend, because, of course, there's a lot going on there. Tulsa against Louisville. That's going to be a big one in terms of Rising and where they are. Obviously, Tulsa 2 points behind Phoenix Rising at the moment. Rising do have the tiebreaker over them, though, because of head-to-head with that win last week. Orange County, who are sitting just outside the playoff places, they will host Rhode Island in a 7 p.m. kickoff at Championship Soccer Stadium. And then the late game on Saturday night. You can catch the last half hour of it or so after Rising's game ends. Las Vegas Lights, who sit just above Rising in 6th, playing Monterey Bay, who are outside of the playoffs at the moment. That one, 7:30 kickoff at Cashman Field. No San Antonio FC game this weekend, so no game to watch on that front. I actually think San Antonio are probably one of the teams that are more likely to actually, I think, go on a run late. They have some talent there. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and out of those 3 matches you just showed, I think 2 out of the 4 West teams that are playing are going to drop points. I don't see Tulsa getting a result against Louisville, and then Vegas, Monterey, one of those teams is going to have to drop points. Orange County, Rhode Island's a bit of a toss-up for me. I think Rhode Island has the edge, but still, you never know.
It's difficult when you're traveling cross-country in the way that they have to, right? You are going from one extreme to the other, trying to get from Rhode Island all the way across to Orange County. Yeah. That's a long trip. It was a long trip from here to Rhode Island, okay? It's a long trip going from one side to the other. Now, Rising managed to pull it off when they went up to Providence, but I don't know if you'll see the reverse happen when they go over to Irvine. I don't know. But that'll be a big game there, of course, for interim head coach Danny Stone, who was the head coach at Phoenix Rising at the start of this season, but now currently running things over with Orange County. It's going to be a really, really tight end to this season. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it right now.
I mean, San Antonio, that's the team that I'm fearing right now.
They've really got the ability, I think, in that squad to turn things around. Yeah. They have so much talent in that squad. They've underperformed, I think, strongly this year. And It's just an interesting one to me. Of course, they were a little bit active this week, and the roster freeze, of course, coming at the start of the week. Something we actually heard a little bit. I did ask Diego Gomez about that, and of course, he was saying that once you'd gotten to that point where they brought in Jill, they brought in Darius, Rising didn't really, short of anything unexpected coming along, had no real interest in adding any more. They were pretty comfortable with the way they were at that point, but. They've definitely leveled up a little bit. Some of the other teams have done so as well, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see now. And Kevin's actually got a really good point there. East Coast teams playing at 7 or at 10 p.m. their body clock as well. That's a good point as well. That one will help to favor Orange County going into this fixture. But of course, that's not the only important fixture that's coming up in the next week or so, is it, Reese?
It is not. It's
not because the Hot Dog Helpers Hot Dog Challenge.
Oh gosh,
it's coming. It's coming. You hyped for this, Shane?
I'm so excited for this.
This is. I tell you what, the tattoo live stream, don't even care anymore. Reese is gonna eat as many hot dogs as he can in 10 minutes.
In here?
We're probably going to do it in the kitchen and stream it that way.
Okay.
I mean,
we could put it in here as long as we put down some blankets.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can do it in here then. Okay.
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility. Maybe we could do that. Find some like old towels and just cover over. You know, I mean... How are you feeling, Reese? Are you hyped?
No, I'm actually in fear. I'm worried that I end up being like really good at this. I like bang out 20 like 5 minutes, and now I'm like a professional like fast food eater. That's my worry.
You think you're the new Joey Chestnut?
That is my fear. Yes.
Is that meant to be a fear though? I mean, that guy's done so well.
I mean, what? He just ate like 80 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Is that doing well? Is the paycheck
check his bank account? He's probably okay.
Is it worth it? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. So. That's a philosophical question. But you will be eating hot dogs next Tuesday.
I will be.
Yeah. It is happening. Reese is gonna be eating as many hot dogs as he can in 10 minutes, and you can only watch the live stream live if you are a diehard. And of course, if you haven't already done so, you better head on over to gophnx.com, have a look into becoming a diehard. You get all kind of other perks as well. All the written content on the website you get access to. You also get a free shirt when you sign up, as well as one every year thereafter from the PHNX locker. And you get access to our members-only Discord, which gives you, I'm sure, a great place to discuss the real upcoming important event next Tuesday, which is Reese eating a lot of hot dogs. And it's going to be great. It's going to be a phenomenal performance, I expect.
I'm seeing the chat telling you to dress up as a ketchup bottle, and Max says mustard. I mean,
are we doing that? Maybe I'll wear red and Max can wear yellow, and then we're kind of doing the theme at least.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I think that would work. I'm okay with that. I think we're really, really excited for that. And again, if you aren't a diehard yet, or if you are and you're not in the Discord and you have any issues, because we're going to put all the information will be in the Discord for you to get access to this stream of the Hot Dog Helper over here taking on the Hot Dog Challenge. If you have any issues, just give us a shout. We will help you all the way. And of course, make sure to go sign up to become a diehard. And you know what? If you're not heading up to Sacramento this weekend as well, go check out our friends at PHNX Cardinals are also doing their tailgate up at Chicken and Pickle. Go check them out. They've got all you can eat options as well. It's going to be a great time up there. So go check them out with PHNX Cardinals. They'll be there before the big game on Sunday. Unfortunately, I will be in Sacramento, so I can't join. I know it's a sad one, isn't it, Reese?
It is. I'm sorry you have to go to Sacramento.
I have to go to Sacramento. Yeah. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, Reese. I think we're about starting to wrap up now.
I mean, great show. No Max. I'm just going to keep saying that.
This is No Max.
No Max.
It's a great show. Yeah.
Simple equation.
I think this has raised the level.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Well, Max, wherever you are, it's okay. You don't need to come back. We've got Reese now. Reese is the new Max.
Oh, I don't like that.
Reese is the
Don't
new
like
Max,
that.
but you
Don't like
can't do the face like that though, can you?
No, I
At the
don't
bottom
want to
there.
try.
Do leave a like if you haven't already done so. Shout out to the chat. All of you guys having a lot of fun in there, especially enjoying, I think, the Reese hot dog content, of course, because who wouldn't love it? Who wouldn't love it? Also, Cronkite Kid much better than Shambles Simpson.
Oh God. He's gonna fight us when he gets
There
back.
we go. Oh, well. Here's what I will say. You will not have Max with us on Saturday, but I will be there for the post-game show, joined by a guest for that post-game show as well. So make sure to check it out over on the PHNX Sports YouTube when you get a chance after the match, win, lose, or draw. However happy or dismal it may be at that point. We will wait and see. You can follow me on Twitter at OGEvans18. You can follow the Stat Lackey Reese, the hot dog helper, at
Reese11 underscore.
Reese11 underscore. You've
There we
got
go.
the underscore down there. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. You can follow our producer Shane at Shane Deef. You can follow the show, of course, at PHNX underscore rising, which, double the underscores. You weren't prepared for this.
Double the hot dogs.
Double the hot dogs. Let's go.
What have I done?
Let's go. All right. I'm not going to do the beautiful game thing to sign off.
That's Max's thing.
That is Max's thing, so we're not going to rip him off.
No,
on
it's Derek's
He did
thing.
steal it from Derek,
it
to be
is?
fair. Yeah, it was
Oh, I
stolen
didn't
from
know
Derek
that.
on D-backs. Yeah.
I
yeah.
gotta. I feel
Because
like
he does the
we need
like baseball is fun, but
Ah,
okay. Whereas Max is a beautiful game.
Yeah, we
It's-
need to call him out on that more
Yeah,
often.
we do. Max is just another reason why it's better to have Reese here than Max.
I feel like I
but-
owe Derek an apology now after watching Max rip him off for so
Yeah.
long. It's just,
Indeed. But remember, as we look ahead to the game this weekend, the best thing about going to Sacramento is that on Sunday I'm going to be leaving Sacramento. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.